Hello everybody! Before heading to this week's activities, I'd like to share an intermediate look of a world generation I struggled with last time. Here's how it works. It takes two maps, merges their values together to create an image, from which it takes ready data and transcribes it into separate file. Then it's ready to load. Generation takes about 5 to 10 seconds right now, but when file already exists, loading on the other hand is pretty much instant. Nothing new here, every game with procedural generation pretty much works like this. Then we end up with these massive islands. Currently I've set it up for 8x8 chunks of 32 tiles, which results in 256 by 256 grid. It may feel small, and probably is, because when later I'll start to fill the land with various buildings and other objects, I guess it will start to feel cramped, but currently it seems huge to me. Also, by the way, the word island acts here more like a title for the structure itself. You can easily interpret these as a cave or a floating chunk of rock in space or something even goofier. I don't have any plans on actually having an open ocean with archipelago. It feels good to finally have something complete, even partially. For sure it has many flaws right now, for example you still spawn in the water. I plan on revisiting it once again in the future for sure, but now it works, it does the job, and I'm happy to move on. This time I decided to take a break from programming and get a little artsy. So I started this week by finally getting a proper look at Inkscape, and after spending entire evening in it, I made this. Very wow, I know. This turned out to be my first ever vector image. I really liked vector design, it feels like perfectionist heaven, everything snapping together, just nice. Also, it made me feel a bit sad that I wasted so much time designing in raster. Anyway, now that I have tasted it, not planning on going back for sure. I'd say I got pretty quickly with Inkscape basics, so alongside sketching, I began to lay out some primitive UI. Jumped there and back, trying various ideas. You can see different iterations right now. From the beginning I got the idea for having thick black outlines on every element of UI with vivid colors. Also here I had a plan for having a minimap because it felt easy to implement now that I have ready save files that can be read, but eventually decided to scrap it since it does not bring anything to the table. It just takes space and rather outweighs elegancy of the bottom part. The bottom part also began to feel too heavy, so I ended up scaling it down a bit, along with separating it slightly. When done in Inkscape, I went inside the engine to implement display features, therefore now ammo and health correctly displays current values. More than that, I went more complex way and made it update only needed sprites relative to difference between values, instead of redrawing whole UI each frame. Don't know how much it will help, but it made the problem for sure more fun to solve considering unusual nature of the elements. Design isn't final for sure, I'd like to give it more of a magical or medieval feel, but layout mainly is pretty much done. The next thing I spent time on was preparing the title menu for the next major feature, which will be settings management, as well as creating and loading save files. And for that I'll need all these buttons. The reason behind buttons having these weird labels is translation. Though manages translation via so-called CSV files, it means comma-separated values. It's basically a spreadsheet with various keys and a text on different languages that is related to these keys. They are all stored in separate columns, and it makes them really easy to edit or add new ones. It is a good thing to add this before any actual text is displayed in-game, because later it would be a nightmare to go and edit it all. Also, if something goes wrong and text won't be shown properly, you'll always get a key displayed inside of a game, which all are uppercase, and it makes it easy and noticeable that something's off. Finally, I quickly prepared pause in game menu, which is nothing interesting to be honest, and played a bit with audio. Set up a couple of buses for effects and music and tested if it even works. It works nicely, so now we know. For the rest of the week, since everything I planned for it is pretty much done, I think I will spend some time on revisiting some older issues that bother me and provide smaller tweaks to the UI. That's gonna be it for today. I'll see you in the next one.